Ben in Utah, pronouns are he, him, who claims that he has seen miracles happen. Ben, you are on the Atheist Experience. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm really, really good. So tell me about these miracles that you've seen, and how do you know that they're miracles?
Well, let's start off. What is a miracle? Can you tell me what a miracle is?
By my definition, it would be something that necessarily defies the natural order, so to speak, something that goes against our understanding of physical reality, something that defies the laws of physics, the laws of chemistry, the laws of science, whatever, in the specific benefit of a person or persons specifically. Is that something that, a supernatural being does through supernatural means that has no possible logical explanation? Not that it doesn't have an explanation, but that it has no possible naturalistic explanation. That's what I would say, but maybe you're using a different definition from me. So what would you say that a miracle is?
I say that pretty much explains it, you know?
Cool. Perfect. So what miracles have you seen, and how do you know that they were miracles?
Well, I was in church once, and there was this family. They were struggling because the mother and father had a divorce. So the kids, one of them was my age. His name was Colton, and he didn't know whether to keep coming to church or not. So in our church, we do this thing called fasting. It's where we pray and we don't eat because we want to show that we are devoted to this. So what I did was I fasted and prayed that she would feel comfortable and around like her family, and the son will, start to come back to the church, And the very next week, he started to come back to church, and he came more often. He came to the activities. He came to, just started attending more. And to me, that felt amazing. And I just felt good,
Is that your miracle, that you prayed and fasted and then this person came back to church?
Yeah, I
don't
pretty much
don't before. So really quickly, I'm sorry, J-Mac. I know
you're good.
You're probably going to ask the same thing I'm asking, but first I just want to return to the definition that we gave a minute ago. You and I agreed that a miracle is something that cannot be explained by naturalistic means. Something that is not that we don't have an explanation, it's that we can't have a natural explanation. It is something that is by definition supernatural in origin. We agreed on that, right?
Yes, we did.
So can you really not think of any possible way that this person wouldn't just decide to come back to church by any natural means, by their own thinking? It has to be a supernatural thing for you. You can't think of any way that could just happen by itself.
Yeah. I mean, if I were to choose between dirt biking and coming to church, I'm pretty sure I'd go dirt biking, But the fact that he didn't come to church for like a while, and then he just all of a sudden came back the moment I prayed about it, it's kind of weird, don't you think?
No,
not at all. I mean, this is
not even a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, don't you agree? People can stray away from their faith, or they can maybe they don't care about these types of questions that much, and they went to church, and then they come eventually kind of go, you know what? Something happens in their life, right? Do you really think that there couldn't be an explanation, like something happened that you didn't have access to, like something in their life, and that got them to start questioning it more? And just all it takes for them to do is, maybe I should go to church. Let me just try this out, right? That doesn't sound very supernatural to me. That sounds like somebody going through a process and then thinking that that's the solution potentially. Like that sounds like way more likely of an explanation than some kind of supernatural explanation. I mean, what do you think?
I think I guess that is true. But have you ever been to church before?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried really hard in high school dating someone who was Christian, and I went to church and I tried to be as respectful as I can. I was always the guy that was like, he's not a Christian. And I tried really, really hard, and even gave it an honest shot. So I can say honestly, I've been to church, and I honestly tried to give it a shot.
Yeah, there was even a time in my life where I wasn't like full as atheist, as outspoken as I am today, but I certainly wasn't religious by any means. But I thought that there was something to it and that it might make me a better, more well-rounded person to go and listen to some stuff. And so, yeah, I definitely tried to start going to church after not having gone for over a decade. And that certainly wasn't a miracle either. I looked into it a little bit more. I decided it might be worth my time. I gave it a try for a few weeks. I found that it wasn't worth my time and I stopped doing it. Like, so that's what we're trying to get at here, is that this person, maybe he went home and his parents told him, hey, you really need to start going to church again. Maybe he had some social pressure from his friends or his community. If he's going to church in the first place, very likely he's got a religious family, maybe some religious friends like you, who might have given him some social pressure, meaning to or not, that encouraged him to go and try church out again. Maybe he was feeling down and questioning his beliefs, and that made him pretty sad, and he wanted the feeling that he had before then, and so he went and tried church again. Maybe he saw a YouTube video or some influencer on TikTok that was Christian that said something that resonated with him, and he tried again. Maybe he was bored and decided he'd do something more interesting today and go to church. There's a million and one reasons why somebody might not go to church for a while and then start going again. And what you're proposing here is that none of those reasons matter or are even really possible. The most likely explanation is divine intervention. And that to me seems like a really, really big leap. Like that's a pretty big logical stretch. I don't know if you're familiar, but there's a philosopher named David Hume who famously said, like, there's two options here. Either the laws of the universe have been suspended in my favor. Something miraculous and supernatural has happened with me and my community in mind, or I made a mistake.
You're the star player for us.
Yeah, maybe I just didn't actually know what was going on, and I was just under a misapprehension about it, you know? What's really more likely? Did something happen that you're not aware of in this person's life? Or did the clouds part and a ray of sunshine come down and Jesus Christ told this kid to come back to, you know what I mean? Like, what's actually more reasonable and more likely?
Okay. I just want to talk about one more thing real quick.
Sure.
About, like, you're atheist. You believe in, like, math and science, right? Or is that just a stereotype?
Grass and science?
He's in math.
Oh.
Yeah, so, like, I want to be clear. It is somewhat of a stereotype, but it's not a bad one. You believe in math and science too, I hope. Otherwise, you would, the phone that you're using to call us right now wouldn't be working without math and science. The definition of atheism is simply that we don't believe that a God is real, that there's any such thing. There are some atheists who are conspiracy theorists who don't believe in various parts of science. There are some atheists that are Democrats and Republicans and who are smart and who are dumb and who are. The whole definition of atheism is just that we don't believe that there's such a thing as a God. And there's lots and lots of people fall into that. As for
Humer is an atheist and like a professor at a college, and he believes that a soul exists, right?
Yeah.
I mean, exactly.
So like
it's not exclusive. It just tells you one thing.
As far as Mike and I are concerned, you can probably fit whatever stereotype you like, because we are pretty outspoken atheists. Mike studies philosophy, I study biology, and so like that is where we're coming from when we do shows like these. Sorry, I know that was probably a bit of a long-winded answer for what you were asking. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page about it, and you don't think anything weird of us.
Oh yeah, no, totally, but. For math, like, did we ever discover math, or was it there before? Like, going back to math, the definition of math is something like the patterns of numbers and all that.
Yeah.
Like, do you think it was in our head, or like already?
That is actually a debate within the mathematics community amongst math scholars, is whether math is invented or discovered. As for me, I'm one of those that says it's discovered. We can say we invent a new field of math, like we invent new ways of doing mathematics. But at the end of the day, the planets speak math. Your circulatory system speaks math. Like the world around you, the universe at large, speaks math. And we use mathematics in order to understand the universe. So, for example, you think back to Johannes Kepler. there was this guy named Kepler, and he, plots out the motion of planets. He comes up with Kepler's laws of orbital dynamics, of how planets orbit. He finds out that or the orbit of planets aren't perfect circles like Copernicus thought. They're actually ellipses, and they go around these focal points, and he comes up with all these, but nobody knows how that happens. Nobody knows what that's all about. And so a little while later, somebody brings this data to this guy named Newton, and Isaac Newton's like, all right, I'll figure it out. Comes back after a month. He's like, yo, these aren't ovals. These are conic sections. They're slices of a cone. And everyone's like, how'd you figure that out? And he's like, oh yeah, I invented integral and differential calculus. He discovered the way that this works by inventing a new system of mathematics. So that's, the universe speaks math. And what we're doing as scientists and mathematicians is just finding out how to speak that language. Where it's like the Rosetta Stone. We're learning how to speak this language that the universe speaks.
Yeah. So another thing about math is like it has infinite information. If math has variables and like infinite amount of numbers, then it's like it has technically all the knowledge, like math has already every single combination of every number, which can be like decoded into every book,
I see where you're going with that. J. Mike, do you have a particular, I get the vibe of that.
Well, I mean, presumably they're going to be like tautological, right? They're going to it's not going to be like, it's not going to tell me, like you can model things obviously with mathematics, but there's going to be some identity in the world, some empirical identity that you have to actually go out and do some work, right? Get your hands dirty. And that's not going to be like a derivation from some mathematical proof, right? It has to be applicable in some way. So
I get the idea of like having an infinite possible permutations of numbers could theoretically lead to it's like there's that website, the Library of Babel, where they're trying to put together every possible combination of English characters in order to produce every single possible book ever written. And like you can go on the Library of Babel, you can look it up online, libraryofbabel.info, I think it is, and you can type in freaking anything, any weird thing that nobody would ever possibly. And sure enough, that's been written by this AI that's just cranking out every possible combination. So like in that way, I can see what you're getting at, but that is like J. Mike was alluding to, that is a strictly theoretical thing. That's like pi. You know what I mean? If you have an infinite stretch of numbers, theoretically speaking, any combination would be in it, but that doesn't mean that you can learn anything by randomly coordinating numbers your whole life. You know what I mean?
I guess,
If somebody could make that proof and derive those facts in the world, I don't think Forrest would be opposed to that.
No, I'd be super into it. It's something you could just go learn. If I could do with the Library of Babel right now, you can search anything you want and come up with that. If you could type in a question and come up with the answer, that'd be pretty freaking sick. But such a thing does not exist quite yet.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be.
Nor may it ever.
Yeah, we probably won't be able to do the spiritual or moral, algebra, or so to speak, to know, exactly, did Jesus say this, on the Sermon on the Mount.
So someday,
so,
I'm not convinced that we may be able to use mathematics to figure out whether or not you should have another kid or what you should have for lunch that day or where you should go to university,
Exactly, yeah.
Did you have a particular thing you were driving at there, Ben, or were you just talking about math?
Yeah, I actually do. I'm going to say one more thing. It's like, how math kind of like controls everything, I guess. How like the expressions and all that stuff, like, it shows how elliptical orbits work and all that stuff. So like, math shows how everything works, right?
It depends on if you're a determinist, how far you would take that statement. But in the spirit of what you're saying, sure.
Yeah. And
so what does that does that mean then for us?
Well, I just wanted to kind of compare that to God, actually. It was crazy enough. But like, how math is like kind of discovered,
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like God. It's like it's discovered in a mind, like you have to have a person to discover it, it, and then it also like kind of has all the combinations of everything. So it's in a way all knowing like God, and it controls everything like God. So you're kind of like describing God there for a second.
So Ben, I just want to be honest with you that I did the exact same parlor trick that you're doing right now. When I was probably about 18 or 19, I was getting into science and I was thinking like, oh, hey, this is, kind of like a God. There's this energy that permeates everything in math that's behind everything. And kind of, if you think about it and squint your eyes a little bit, it kind of sounds like a God. And what like made that fall apart for me was, number one, I started applying the exact same rules of logic that I would to literally anything else to that. And it fell apart. And then also is that, if you want to call that God, neat, we have a different word for the same thing. What good is it? It's not, math is not, granting wishes or answering prayers. Math is not something that we can see in our day-to-day life having an influence over us besides the applications that we use it for. Math doesn't get up and do anything. We have to use math to do a thing. And just because the universe follows certain patterns, math is the way that we describe and explain and understand those patterns. But two is not a real concrete thing. It's just a concept that we use to describe orders and systems and things.
It would be weird to say like, it's like a God and the whole concept we're tracking is creating the external world around us. And numbers are causally inert, right? They don't cause things. They don't engage in causal relations. And so then it couldn't have intentions and beliefs and thoughts. And then so the whole thing seems to fall apart pretty quickly because presumably the concept that we're trying to track with God, or at least what I call myself an atheist, that I either think doesn't exist or, don't believe, given a new concept, a new twist, a new flavor, so to speak, being presented, is that the commonality is going to be that there's this mind that exists alone. It has beliefs, intentions, something like that. And it creates the external world, right? It exists alone, it creates the external world. That's like the general concept I think most people are tracking. And none of that fits in relations to mathematics because they just don't engage in causal relations.
Right. That's really the biggest thing is like, yeah, you can apply all of these wonderful properties to mathematics, but like mathematics is not an intelligent thinking being that intentionally does things. What use would this be to call this God? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. So maybe
anyway, Ben,
we've not God itself. Oh yeah, of course.
You'd have to, we've got a few other calls in the line, but I would challenge you to just, think about if this God is real, what is it doing? Is it useful to us? Is it doing a good job at running the universe around us? If you want to say math is the way that it does things, okay, sure. There's, apologists have said crazier stuff. That's fine. But like, really, I would just challenge you to ask, what do you actually believe in and why do you actually believe in it? And do you have a good reason for believing something that, like I said, the same logical and moral principles that you would apply to anything else? Or do you make special exceptions and special rules and special distinctions for this God that you wouldn't apply anywhere else? And just, it's easier to believe it that way. That's what I would challenge you to do. And if you want, call back in again next time J. Mike or I are on, and we'll talk about it some more.
Cool.
Yeah. Don't call the other hosts.
So much.
Just call us. Only.
Exactly. Only call us. We're the best hosts, except for Christy Powell and also all the other ones.
Yeah.
We got forced to commit a contradiction. Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
Thank you so much, man. Have an awesome day, dude.
Yeah, you too, bro.